Anthony Brindisi, the assemblyman here in Utica, is on the line right now. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Bill. How are you?
Well, it's been interesting, hasn't it?
That's to say it lightly. Yeah.
So we're dying to get you on. They're talking about banning football for 14-year-olds. I'm kidding.
There is a.
I'm against that, by the way. Okay, let me just go on the record.
So who's the assemblyman down there out of the Bronx? Is it out of the Bronx, by the way?
I believe so. I'm not exactly sure who the member is. I know this bill came up last year. It didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
But it's one of those bills that it's too much intrusion into parents' decision making, into people's personal choices. We're all for safety, and there's ways to educate people about safety surrounding football, but to ban it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. By the way, 14 years, we were trying to figure it out, and then all of a sudden it dawned on me, well, my God, that's the 8th, 9th grade we're talking about here.
Exactly.
So junior high football.
Freshman football, sure.
Freshman football. Okay, let's talk about the hate crimes issue first. Can we get into that?
Sure.
That's a bill you introduced here. Talk about that.
So essentially what the bill would do, and it's being sponsored by myself and several members on both sides of the aisle in both houses, it's called the Community Heroes Protection Act. And essentially what it does is it would make it a suspect it would make them charged with a hate crime if they intentionally target a law enforcement officer, a firefighter, EMS personnel, or other kind of first responder. And really it's in response to the increase in violence we have seen over the last few years to police officers, firefighters, et cetera. We've seen, in our own state, out in the western part of the state, 2 firefighters attacked, ambushed, really, for responding to a fire call. New York City, you saw the officers who were basically assassinated in their car just because they were police officers. We have to make criminals think twice before you intentionally target a police officer, firefighter, et cetera. We need to make them think twice that the penalties are going to be so severe, they're not going to want to do that because we got to make sure that these men and women are safe. They're out there protecting us. They are our line of defense against criminals, and we want to make sure they're safe.
Well, in a lot of these cases, they are in the most the most vulnerable position. They're just sitting there in their car without a visual behind them, without a view, and somebody just kind of walks up and shoots at them. It's really a terrible, cowardly act, I think.
It is. You have New York City looking to make all their police car windows bulletproof because this is such a problem.
Man.
We want to make sure that just suspects think twice before they do this. We all know being a police officer is a dangerous job. Being a correction officer is a choice someone makes. But again, you're there to protect and serve the public. We don't want people being intentionally targeted just because they're police officers. That's wrong.
Remember when you were on the Christmas show, our Christmas show last year, at the end of the year, we played a little game. You mind if we play another quick game?
Let's go.
Okay, here we go. Here we are. I'm going to read you a quote, and you tell me who the author is, okay? This constant drumbeat of politically motivated whining and crocodile, we're talking about the current protest, immigration, all of that. This constant drumbeat of politically motivated whining and crocodile tears, it is veering towards irrational demagoguery must stop. We're a nation based on respect for differences of opinions, passionate debate, and the right to protest. But this politically driven hysteria that is ignited on nearly a daily basis does nothing to help achieve thoughtful and informed policymaking. We should all be tired of this seething demagoguery from all sides of the spectrum. End quote.
It sounds like a Senator Griffo quote.
Yeah. It's funny. He had...
What? How did you get that?
Listen, this release...
I read it last night.
This release is all over the place, and it's getting praise. It is getting a lot of people hammering, and it's so unlike Senator Griffo, who's normally... he's normally in a position where he doesn't take a stance like this. Your thoughts on that and the protesting?
Yeah, I guess I haven't talked specifically to Joe about that statement or his thoughts on some of the protests around the country. I know that he is concerned about cities designating themselves as sanctuary cities, and he doesn't think the state should be making up for any loss of funding, which I actually agree with him on that point.
Well, then we're talking about Syracuse, where we had Stephanie Miner on yesterday, and I asked her, are you prepared to defy an order from a federal order? I mean, are you prepared to give up that funding?
Well, I think the president is on pretty steady ground here when he says that the federal government can withhold funding.
Yeah.
I've seen that executive order, and I think he's on pretty steady ground there legally. So every city's got to make their own decision on that, but it's going to hit them hard, especially a place like New York City, which relies on millions of dollars of federal funding every year for different programs that they have. So, look, I don't think it's right to label anyone as being hysterical or trying to posture here. People have legitimate concerns. I've said this right along that I am all for more vetting, more security in place. We want to make sure we're not letting people into the country who are dangerous. But we can't lose sight of the fact that this is a country, a nation built by immigrants, built by refugees. We've had a very successful experience here in Utica with the immigrants and refugees. They're working. Within a year of getting here, they're contributing back to society, revitalizing parts of the city that have gone neglected for a long time. So we have to be mindful of that and try and strike the right balance where we're still an opening, welcoming country, but making sure that we are properly vetting people coming into the country. And the refugees that come here, they're not coming here illegally. They're going through a 2 to 3 year process to get clearance to come here. They're coming from war-torn countries. And what concerns me a little bit, too, is that there's certain people that were held up at the airports this weekend who actually helped American soldiers in Iraq, helped Americans overseas. If we send them back to their country, they're going to be targeted, they're going to be killed. And we want to make sure that if someone's going to put their life on the line to help our military, they deserve the right to come back to come into this country.
Is the defense it's only just a couple hundred people? Is that defense okay?
Well, it's a couple hundred people over a weekend, but if it goes forward, you're really not sure how many people it's going to impact.
Yeah.
I would like to see more consultation with the Homeland Security Advisor, with the Department of Defense. It looks like they weren't consulted with over this executive order, and I understand the President's desire to get this thing out there. I think they wanted to prevent some legal challenges, and if they strung it out a few weeks, that would give more weight to the ACLU to build a better legal case against this. But we got to have a coherent policy that people understand, and that's not limiting people who want to come here who have no other desire than to become Americans and want to live in our country and contribute back to our country.
Yeah.
Again, we got to make sure that we're being safe and we're vetting people properly, but it's a pretty extreme vetting process right now to become a refugee citizen in the country. It's a 2 to 3 year process that they have to go through. They're not just let into the country.
And really, this is not helping us when it comes to the real border issue that we're looking at, and that's the southern border. And we have our own border here that easily it seems people at certain stretches. There's no wall up there where people can make their way into the country. I think That's where I think focus should be. But I want to hit you on a couple other quick things. Congresswoman Claudia Tenney has responded. She's been getting hammered over the fact that her office is not open. She said in an interview with the Observer-Dispatch that it's all about this bureaucracy that's preventing her from getting things up and running. Yet, I did a little digging yesterday, and I reached out to Congressman Richard Hanna, who refused to speak on the issue and said he felt that it was not his place to get in on it. I dug a little further, and we were able to find some people that were willing to talk. And this is what I was told yesterday, that they reached out to the Congresswoman-elect several times to set her up in Hannah's office on Genesee Street, several times, but never received any word back from Claudia Tenney. Several times they tried to make a conversion between she won't call us back either. Several times to try to help convert to make the transition smooth. And they said that their office, when the switch came from Mike Arcuri to Richard Hanna, was open very swiftly in just a couple of days. But the reason it's delayed is because she refused to speak with them.
Right.
Any comment on that?
I've heard similar stories. I can't verify whether it's true or not. I haven't been through the process of trying to set up a congressional office, so I don't know what it takes to get the phones turned on. But
are you taking notes right now?
I would encourage to get lots of cell phones and just start that process.
Yeah.
But there are people out there, because they've called my office. I've had people call the office for federal issues, and when we get calls for federal issues, traditionally we turn them over to the congressional representative's office.
Yeah.
So we've been forwarding to their D.C. office when we get those calls because the Utica office or New Hartford office is not up and running. So, it's constituent services is job number one for a representative, and that starts with having a phone, having an office, being out in the public, having town hall meetings, doing those kinds of things. So I'm sure she's going to do that. It's a learning curve for everybody involved. So just hopefully she gets it done as quick as possible.
And finally, I want to hit you with one final issue. It's the talk of possibly a replacement for AMS, which, by the way, could be this Taiwanese company. It could be not only a replacement, but like a gigantic gift if it were to ever, even a portion of it to be able to come true based on what their plans are and expansion in the United States. But I'm getting hit by people that are saying there is a group of people or maybe a couple of people who are out there every time there seems to be an opportunity for the area that they're pelting, like, for instance, say AMS. They're sending messages to AMS saying, don't get involved. It's cronyism. It's crooked Utica. It's crooked Cuomo. And just saying, if you get here, you're gonna. A, do you have any belief that is happening? And B, it's free speech. I mean, a person, a citizen, can do whatever they like. And C, could it damage a deal?
I know for a fact it does happen. I've seen it happen with AMS. I've heard about it. It's damaging to the area. It's damaging to people who are hopefully going to benefit from any potential jobs that come to the area. We should all have the same goal to bring companies here, keep companies here, and grow more jobs. So, I encourage people don't do that because it's gonna hurt this area's chances.
Yeah,
I can tell you that we had a great conversation yesterday. Myself and Senator Griffo and the county executive met with the governor yesterday in person.
Okay,
and we had some good conversations with him about our concerns over the area, our concerns about the AMS announcement, and how we're going to try and put aside some of our differences and work together to make sure that things happen here. I feel better after meeting with him and hearing his plans for the area and what he's doing to try and bring a company to that site, working with Empire State Development and EDGE. There's more leads on the Nano site now than there probably have ever been in the last 10 years. There's a lot of interest out there. They're getting very close to getting the Quad C building up and running, which has been something that's been promised for a long time. That's a good thing that's going to be happening in the next few months, hopefully. So things are moving. He is committed to the area. He certainly heard our pleas. So he wants to act, and he's concerned that this area is not experiencing the same kind of economic success as you're seeing in Buffalo or Long Island or other parts of the state.
So you feel more confident. I can't stop playing the song we did, the interview song. I don't know if you've heard that yet, but
I don't know if I heard that one.
I'll play that. I'll play that next.
Okay.
It's an interview. Listen, I dreamed I had an interview with the governor. He came to Utica finally, and I was asking him all these questions, and I put my dream on tape. It's really incredible. Here's Andrew with a question from the listener.
Yeah, I had one of them text into me and said that there's a lot of people talking about a possible loophole in the law recently passed or the proposed bill to take away pensions from people who have been convicted of felonies. Is there a loophole that would allow them to transfer their pension to their spouse?
Well, no. The way the law works is you don't want to harm the innocent spouse or children of a politician who is committing some kind of an act, potentially without the spouse's knowledge or the knowledge of children. If a garbage man or politician, whatever it is, public employee is committing a crime in their scope of employment that's a fraud, they're going to lose their pension under this new law as long as the voters vote for it in November, which now they have the chance to because it's passed the legislature twice. But again, a judge will have to determine when deciding whether to take away that pension from the spouse if that spouse had knowledge in the crime or participated in the crime. If they had no knowledge, then odds are the judge is going to rule that they can keep the husband's or wife's pension. But if they did participate, they're going to lose it as well.
And is this the reason this has to go up for a vote for a referendum is because it's a charter issue? What's the reason? Why couldn't
it's a constitutional amendment?
Constitutional amendment.
Under the Constitution, you can't. State constitution, you can't mess with pensions. So this is going to be a constitutional amendment, and it has to go by referendum to the voters.
Listen, I'm going to start a new polling firm and say 99% of New Yorkers are going to vote yes.
I'm willing to take that bet, and I'm not a betting man.
Yeah,
so.
Good point. All right, Anthony, thank you so much. Anthony Brindisi, we appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Got a break.